In episode 3, Kaz looks over Pekka's books and realizes that he's taken over a lot more than the Crow Club. But as Kaz is talking about this, Jesper, who just showed up, doesn't really give a rat's ass about it. He's more concerned with the fact that Kaz has been very cavalier about what has happened to his crew. The fact that people are almost dying and they don't know what for. And one of the reasons why he might be stressed out is just the location. They're in a cemetery that no longer gets used because it's completely filled up from the firepox outbreak. All of the cemeteries were so filled that they had to put bodies in the harbor. And Kaz knows about this all too well because he had to sleep on those bodies as a child. So just being in that proximity, it's a little bit of PTSD. So as Jesper tells him that he needs to be more concerned with this group, Kaz just ignores it, handing him a piece of paper for one of Pekka's apparent companies. It's a glass company, but the location doesn't really make sense financially of why Pekka would have it there. So he wants Jesper and Wylan to go investigate it and find out what Pekka is actually hiding. He then has to deal with Nina and helping her out. He tells her to go to Hellgate and look for this one particular guard, because there's only one guard there that isn't on Pekka's payroll. At Hellgate, they host these fights with the prisoners for the enjoyment of just paying customers. And one of those paying customers is usually Pekka Rollins. So before Nina heads off, Kaz does warn her, be on the lookout for Pekka, because he will certainly be on the lookout for you. And Nina finds this out all too well when she finally arrives at Hellgate. She gets there just in time to see Matthias in a fight that he wins, by the way. She's very concerned for him. She's trying to get his attention. She's yelling his name. And when she finally does get him to look her way, he just walks off because he wants nothing to do with her. But her screaming Matthias over and over again got the attention of Pekka, who just happened to be in the audience, and he recognized her. He now knows why Nina was so inclined to help out Kaz. She clearly has feelings for Matthias, so Pekka uses it to his advantage, telling her, bring me Kaz Brekker, or else I'll make sure your man's next fight is to the death. Now, while Nina was in Hellgate, Jesper and Wylan headed to this alleged glass factory, but it's just as Kaz predicted. It definitely doesn't look like a glass factory, it looks like a house. Wylan is comfortable just going back to Kaz and saying, yep, you were right, he's hiding something, but Jesper wants to go inside and find out what exactly he's hiding. And when they get inside, they find out that it is Pekka Rollins' child, Aldi. The thing is, they're caught by Aldi, by his nanny, by another guy, and they have to think fast, and they say, oh, we're here to fix the piano. Wylan noticed on his way in that the piano is broken, and this excuse works. And thanks to the fact that Jesper is a Durist, he is able to fix this thing pretty easily. Both of them are pretty lucky to get out of there, and now they just have to make the long trek back to the cemetery to tell Kaz what they found. Nina, Jesper, and Wylan weren't the only ones that had a busy day, so did Kaz. He goes to check on Inej, and Inej tells him that she found out who Pekka Rollins sent to grab her and take her back to the menagerie. It's a local taxidermist, and she's planning on going after this guy to get revenge. But she has to be careful about this because he is really, really formidable. She knows that if she doesn't kill this guy, it's only a matter of time before he finds her and drags her back. And Kaz says, I won't let that happen to you. But Inej snaps back, really? You won't? I mean, why should I believe you? You're gambling with our lives and I don't even know the reason. That's when Kaz tells her that the bad blood between him and Pekka Rollins has to do with the fact that Pekka killed his older brother, somebody that Kaz was very close to. And when Inej hears that, she says, then we destroy him. Kaz then tends to Inej's wound, fixing it up, but also giving her tips on what to look for in a possible fight with this taxidermist. Although, as he's talking to her, there's a lot of sexual tension going down. His tips, though, do end up working. Inej is able to locate this taxidermist and ultimately kill him. She got scraped up a bit, though, and so did Kaz. Because after he left Inej, he had to go get more guys for this job to help out, and he went to Per Haskell's club. He announces to everybody that he is looking for 6 guys. But he's not looking for cowards, he's looking for killers. No one's really interested in joining Kaz's group. In fact, they attack him. And they put a pretty good beating on him, but he gives an even bigger beating back. I mean, he kicks the crap out of just about everybody, scaring everybody and intimidating them to ultimately joining his group. They don't really have a choice. He just flat out says, you work for me now. So when everybody reconvenes back in the mausoleum, they're pretty concerned for Kaz because it's clear he's been in a fight. But he's not looking for sympathy. He simply lets them know that he's got a couple guys now that can help out with this job, and he asks for the update from Jesper and Wylan, and they tell him that what Pekka was hiding was his child. He prods Jesper for Alby's information, and Jesper is very hesitant to give it, but ultimately he does. Both Jesper and Wylan are worried about what Kaz might do to this poor child. Wylan, in particular, is so upset that he approaches Kaz alone and says, if you're going to hurt this boy, then I'm not with it. That's not what I signed up for, and that's not what I'm about. And Kaz says, you won't have to. But I did find a way to end all of this, and I'm going to use suffering to do it. Now, over with Kurgan, he has taken his mother back to the house that he's using as a home base, and he has her locked in a cage. The two of them start getting into an argument about why Baghra won't help Kurgan. He, feeling like he's doing right by Grisha, forming a country that will be safe for them, and her pointing out that his actions with the Fold have led to Grisha being persecuted once again. So his actions led to basically reverse. Things are back to the way it used to be for Grishas, that they have to be scared of who they are. And the other person who is blamed for the Fold is Alina, and she's currently trying to right that wrong. Using Grecian power, her and Sturmond are able to take to the sky and enter the Fold. And that's where she tries using 2 amplifiers to take this thing down. And for a good chunk of time, it was looking like it was working, until suddenly it didn't. They have to narrowly escape the Fold, crash landing in East Ravka, where they are right away approached by the First Army, looking for them to identify themselves. And that's when Sturmond gets up and says, I'll take it from here. And he starts taking off his jacket to reveal a Ravkan army uniform. Because it turns out that Sturmond is actually Prince Nikolai of Ravka. And that comes as a huge surprise to Alina, who feels completely betrayed. Nikolai, though, will have to deal with Alina later. He wants an update on his family. And he finds out that his father's condition really hasn't improved, and his brother is currently running things. And by running things, he means running it into the ground. One general tells him that if they were actually following his brother's orders, they'd wage war on Grisha while ignoring threats from Fjorda. Everyone, however, is heading to the Spinning Wheel, which is a place that Nikolai uses as a workshop. And Nikolai jokes that his brother, Vasily, isn't going to be too happy when he finds out that Nikolai has given the okay for this place to be a Grecian sanctuary. Because of this, Nikolai knows that he has to get to the Spinning Wheel first, so he takes off and brings Alina with him. And on the ride there, they get the opportunity to talk about what happened. Nikolai basically tells her, I needed to get to you first, and I knew that you weren't going to get on my ship if I was flying my family's name. He reveals to her that he tried to find her before by hiring Kaz Brekker, and that's a pretty big surprise to Alina. But through this ride to the Spinning Wheel, she slowly realizes that Nikolai is not an enemy, he is an ally. When they arrive at the Spinning Wheel, Alina is thrilled because she sees a friendly face, Nadia. Nadia, though, isn't the only person from the little palace that is at the Spinning Wheel. Nadia also brought her brother Adric, but the other person that arrived from the little palace is Zoya. Because of the bad blood, Alina thinks that their first meeting is going to be pretty contentious, but actually it's not. Zoya is not there to fight. She wants to be an ally to Alina. She owns up to her mistakes in the past and says that the way she acted was out of pure jealousy, but she realizes that she needs Alina. All Grecians do, so she's willing to join her. When everybody gets settled, they then meet with Nikolai. Nikolai's gotten reports that there were First Armies being mutilated in 3 different locations. Alina is convinced that it's Kurgan, and Nikolai says, well, if it is him, then it's only a matter of time before he finds out about your attempt to take down the Fold. And the failed attempt is something that she has been harping on since it happened. Maul knows this, and he points out, we need to find the Firebird, the 3rd amplifier. But in order to do that, they're going to have to search the area, and that means being under the protection of Nikolai. That's going to be really difficult because currently the country's falling apart, and Fjorda still has the bounty on Alina. Nikolai thinks about it, and then he proposes a proposal. He says to both Alina and Maul that it would be a lot easier to protect Alina if she had his name. Now, he realizes what Alina and Maul have, and he doesn't want to get in the way of that. This would literally just be a strategic alliance. That is it. It would be a fake marriage. So he steps out of the room, leaving Alina and Maul alone to discuss it. And at first, Alina is livid. She doesn't want to be in a fake marriage. She wants to be with Maul. It's not like Maul doesn't want to be with Alina, but he also knows that they're no longer 12. They're not going up against orphans. They're going up against the Fjordans, the First Army, and Kurgan. So he tells her, you need all that Nikolai can offer you. Alina spends the rest of the night thinking about this, and she has a dream about Kurgan, and that is the final straw. She gets up, goes to Nikolai's room, and accepts his offer. Kurgan, meanwhile, is a man of his word. His scouts did, in fact, find David. And when David stumbles up to the compound, he's excited to see Genya, but Genya warns him, "You gotta get out of here. This dude's crazy." But it's too late. Kurgan sees David and welcomes him in. He explains to David everything that's going on with him, the smoke monsters, the headaches, and then he hands over the journal, saying, we used to think that this was just the ramblings of a madman, but maybe there's an answer for what I'm going through in there. After showing David to his room, Kurgan gets word about what Alina tried to do with the fold. And he knows that since she failed, the only way that she's ever going to succeed is by getting the third amplifier, which means he has to find it first. He rushes to go talk to Baghra, and Baghra tells him, "I don't know where it is, but what I do know is that if she finds it first, she'll be a force to be reckoned with, and if she offers protection, she'll have a Grecian army by her side." She then, however, throws one too many digs his way, and he cuts off her finger, throwing it at David and telling him that Morozova used fingers as amplifiers, so do something with this. But once Kurgan is out of the room, David runs to tell Genya what he just witnessed. It confirms what Genya told him, the fact that Kurgan is nuts. The big revelation, though, is the fact that Alina is not only alive, she's in East Ravka, and this gives Genya the opportunity to warn her about what is going on with Kurgan, the fact that he has these smoke monsters. It's not going to be easy, though. They're going to have to escape. And Genya tells David to leave first and meet her at some ruins not too far away. But when Genya shows up, Kurgan is right on her tail. Kurgan is not willing to let her leave, and he has his smoke monsters cover her and knock her out. But it does allow David to escape, and escape with the journal. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.